Hello everyone, welcome to Virtueville, the site that gives you the tips and tools that you need to effectively teach character. On today's episode, we're talking caterpillars and butterflies. Would you mind giving us 3 tips on how you get started? On today's episode, we're talking caterpillars and butterflies. Once again, we're joined by author and creator of We Choose Virtues, Heather McMillan. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you.
Once again, we're joined by author and creator of We Choose Virtues, Heather McMillan. Heather, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is part of our ongoing series with We Choose Virtues and how to use their products most effectively to teach character. Now, reading up on your product, I noticed a theme that was kind of intertwined throughout the whole system.
Right.
And that was the theme of caterpillars and butterflies. Can you explain that a little bit?
You know, I sure can. I'll start with caterpillars.
Okay.
A lot of times when we see areas in our children's lives that we really want to change, we narrow in on that, and it might be really just actually a symptom of the problem. Maybe they're not emptying the dishwasher, not doing their homework, or they're disrespectful to their grandparents or something, and it starts to bother us and we're concerned, and we know that our child's character is really the root issue.
Right.
So We Choose Virtues would call that a caterpillar.
Okay.
And interestingly, it's not just kids that have caterpillars.
Right, everyone has
I've
caterpillars.
got them, and you've got them.
Right.
And although you are a Virtue kid,
Thank you.
I also was a Virtue kid.
Right.
But I had caterpillars and still have some in my life. And they're usually things that are really difficult to change.
Right.
Especially if we don't get help from our parents, ongoing training to change those caterpillars into what we would then call a butterfly.
Right.
A caterpillar, though, is more than just the symptom. As I said, it's the underlying character flaw in our child's life. And so we really want to identify those. We want to go to the very, very root. We want to determine that it's honesty that we're trying to build. So the caterpillar would be dishonesty. It might be selfishness. It might be pride or greed. And so we don't mind labeling those caterpillars in kind of an intense way.
Right.
We're not friends with these caterpillars.
Right.
We don't need to say nice things about them.
Right.
We're not saying unkind things about our child, but we are saying, hey, this really is a part of your life and it really does need to change.
Right. So what are some ways that parents can recognize the caterpillars in their child's life?
You know, that's a really good question. I think one thing that you have to do, and you can use a Virtue tool for that, is to just look at the list of character qualities and begin to, that we use in our program, and look at the antonyms.
Okay.
You'll see, your children will see this really quickly too. It's pretty cool. But as you look at the antonyms, you'll say, here's some areas where my children fit this description. Therefore, the quality that we're talking about, that virtue, that's the virtue that is the butterfly that really would solve that problem.
Right, because again, like we talked about in some of our videos, is that you're not trying to add on, you're trying to replace. You're trying to replace the virtue with the antonym. Correct?
Yes. So, you know, it does take a lot of time, and I think a lot of times parents and teachers would just love to solve that problem really quickly. These caterpillars in our children's lives take a lot of time and a lot of repetition to really acknowledge that caterpillar and begin to gradually teach them this is not the acceptable behavior we're looking for. We need to replace it with this good quality.
Okay, right. So if the caterpillar is a weakness in the child's life,
yes.
What does the butterfly represent?
Well, obviously then the butterfly represents the strength.
Right.
You know, virtue does give you wings. Think about the area in your children's life that could be so radically transformed if they were an honest person, if they were a diligent person. If you're a teacher, what kind of student could they be? If they start fast, work hard, and finish strong.
Every time,
I mean, you would have a class of champions.
Right.
They would rise to their greatest them. Their greatest quality person that they could be would be greatly enhanced by being a person of character. So we're wanting to teach the children a butterfly is a person who is a great husband, a great wife, a great volunteer, a great student, a great employer, a great business owner. These are all qualities that every one of us need to have. Virtue really is the thing that does give us wings.
So is it important to make sure that you're not only talking about the caterpillars, but also about the butterflies.
Absolutely. I don't think that there's motivation like encouragement.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of parents who are looking for a way to encourage their children, but they see those caterpillars, they don't want to reinforce it, but they've said the same thing over and over, stop, stop, stop. This gives you a language that tells them, yeah, stop that, but hey, how about we start this?
Right.
How about we do this? I really think that this is the whole reason why our product is so successful. Parents are longing for a way to encourage their children.
Right.
Yes, we all have our caterpillars, but we also have natural instincts that make us butterflies already.
In some ways, right.
And then, come on, let's add to that, let's strengthen that, let's become even more of a butterfly in every area of our life.
Right. So would you recommend pointing out the flaws in your child's life as a caterpillar? Like telling them, see this antonym? That's a caterpillar. But see this catchphrase? That's your butterfly.
Yes, I would.
And using those words, is that how the language plays into it?
I definitely use it that way. You know, when I was growing up, I can remember one of my fellow students in my class, she was the teacher's pet.
Right.
She was an incredible student. She got excellent grades, always did her homework. I happened to know that she wasn't very nice.
Right.
And in fact, she hurt my feelings just about every day. Some days she came to school, she was going to be my friend. The next day we came to school and she didn't want anything to do with me.
Right.
You could see by looking at this girl that she had her definite butterflies.
Right.
She also had her caterpillars.
She was a teacher's pet for a reason.
She was. You know, the teacher loved her. The thing is, though, is this program would have been excellent for my teacher. Because my teacher could have said, look at this girl's caterpillars and butterflies, let's start working on those strengths and weaknesses, so that rather than always just talking about her strengths, she would have had the tools she needed to build up those other issues in her life. I, on the other hand, was not a very good student,
Right.
but I was very nice to everyone.
Right.
It would have been great also to have this tool in our classroom, so my teacher could have said, we're so glad that you're so nice to everyone. How about a little bit of honesty, and how about some diligence to go with that?
Right.
So all of these laid out together really do create a way for us to encourage and strengthen the children in our class, no matter where they kind of fall in that spectrum.
And so with that, it sounds like using the caterpillar and butterfly concept could also work when you're showing them how to do it in your own life as well. You could point out, this is my caterpillar, or this is my butterfly.
Right. It's really true. Using yourself as an example is always a great way to train children. Children are so smart. They know when you're teaching them something that you're not doing yourself. I always like, when I start a brand new virtue program with a new group of kids, to usually pull out one and say, I just want to show you this one. Now, this is one we're going to start with because this is my favorite. And this is my favorite because this is the one that's been the hardest one for me all my life. And I want to tell you how I've grown. So I want to tell you how this caterpillar became a butterfly.
Right.
You know, we actually have a program, one of our tools in our program, and it's actually a butterfly and caterpillar poster. So it starts out all covered with caterpillars.
Right, which are all bad.
They're all bad, and there's a row of them for each virtue. So you can take it into your classroom and say to the kids, we are going to change all of these caterpillars into butterflies.
Right.
Basically, you just assign one of them per day.
Right.
You can pick any one you want on the chart, and just use it as a virtue challenge. Say, today, you know, yesterday was rough. We had a lot of lying going on yesterday. Today, I think we're going to try to earn a butterfly on the virtue of honesty as a class.
That's awesome.
So all day long, whether it's in the lunchroom, whether, you know, if you're homeschooling, it could be even related to your chores. No matter where it is in your class time, you can all be looking at each other and saying, we're trying to earn that honesty butterfly to put on our caterpillar. And eventually, they will all turn. And so, in the end, you have 100 days of virtue that you have established. It really helps with that, you know, the routine of it. It helps there to be a habit formed.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Virtueville. If you have any questions, as always, please comment them in the comments section down below. Make sure you like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Virtueville. Also follow us on Twitter @Virtueville. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.